To be honest, at first this project completely terrified me. I thought Mr. Egan's was out of his mind giving this project to a bunch of 8th graders. To me, this was something I wouldn't be able to accomplish and couldn't do well. I mean, I would do it, but in my head, the end product always seemed to be in a fog, and I was extremely nervous of the outcome. Then, when Mr. Egan's announced it would be 250 points, I was nervous beyond belief. I never thought about anything being worth that much. Also, we didn't really have any other grades, so this project was basically my whole grade. So I absolutely had to do well. And this was on top of being nervous about just the project itself. When I first started my research, I got even more stressed out. There was information about the Korean War, but none of it seemed to be helping me with my focus questions. At one point, I was even considering changing my questions, but I really didn't want to do that unless it was absolutely necessary. My questions were what I really wanted to know, and of course I could make up new ones, but I don't think the value of the project to me personally would have been as great of a value. Soon, though, I kept getting little pieces of information. I didn't really get a bunch at once, but over a few weeks I built up enough research to get a better understanding of the war. With all my little pieces of information, I then had to put them together like a puzzle to form my conclusions and opinions on what I found. This project is a lot different than I expected. I always thought it would be much harder than it is, especially the rough draft. I wasn't really sure how I was going to go about writing it, because since the project didn't have a legitimate rubric, I wasn't quite sure what was expected of me. Now, after doing it though, I liked the freedom. I feel like the writing is what I want it to be, and not just what my teacher wants it to be like. After a month or so of research time, the due date of the rough draft seemed to come up very fast. It seems like we had a lot of time for research, and then barely any time for the rough draft. That could have been my fault though, because I admit to procrastinating a little bit at the beginning of the project, but then I got back on track. I think it was because when the project was assigned and I knew the due date wasn't for a while, I thought I had all the time in the world, but in reality, the due date came up quite quick. If I had to do something like this in the future, then I think I would spend a little more time researching and making changes on the rough draft. Once I finished the rough draft, I made all the changes that Mr. Egan suggested and a few of my own. But I think next time I would do a lot more of my own corrections, so it would make the piece much stronger and much more valuable of a website, because it would have been my own opinions on the topic. Now, if and when I hear people talking about this topic, I can definitely join in on the conversation. Also, because I researched it and had time to think about it and form my own opinions, I think my thoughts would be a good contribution into the conversation, and I think people would actually want to listen to what I have to say. I think personally, I did well finding information and putting it together, so I think my thoughts would be valuable to the other people and wouldn't be a waste of their time. I'm not very good with technology, so making the website kind of concerned me at times, but with the videos Mr. Egan's created to help us get started helped a lot. I definitely wouldn't have been able to make my site if it wasn't for those. Making the website actually wasn't that difficult at all. It was one of the easier aspects of this project. But I'm also nervous about making and editing this video because I'm not very good with stuff like that. So, in conclusion, this project wasn't as difficult as I expected. The time limit was probably the hardest part of this project, trying to stay on track and achieve what I needed to. This project helped me get a closer and new look on the Korean War and dig much deeper than I intended to. I'm glad we did this project, and I think the next time we are assigned a project like this, I won't be as nervous. Also, I think I can make it even better by learning from my mistakes.